Hello, everyone. So I started doing some blacksmithing a few weeks ago, and I've been doing some videos on it, and I've been getting some really great advice in the comments from other people that have been blacksmithing a lot longer than me. So I thought it'd be a good idea to like just kind of give them a close-up look at my setup, so that when I'm talking to them in the future, they know exactly what I'm working with. So this setup here is basically a temporary outdoor setup, and when I'm done, everything goes back into a shed. Okay, so first item here is the vise. Okay, it's not bolted onto this barrel because again, I don't want to leave this outdoor in the rain. If yeah, I mean, if it was bolted, it'd be a little easier to work with, but it's heavy enough that for the projects that I'm doing, I seem to be able to manage. It only sometimes gets annoying that it's not bolted down. Okay, so this is the two burner forge. Okay, this is a Velvor. I got it from Home Depot. It was like $130, and then with the refractory cement, that was another $40. It's a two burner, and what I'll do is I'll usually brick it up front and back if I want to do some forge welding, and I'll use both of the burners for forge welding. Okay, if I'm only doing shaping, what I'll usually do is I'll what I'll do is I'll flip it over like this so that the heat doesn't travel up and heat up my valve over there. So I'll usually run it like this, and what I'll do is I'll take pieces of brick here that have broken up, and what I'll do is I'll actually fill it up with brick all the way up to about here. Okay, this way there's less space on the inside. So basically it holds heat in better. It gets hotter faster. Okay, so yeah, what I'll do is if I need to use the whole thing, because sometimes for a couple of things I was heating up, I actually had to use use the entire thing. But if I don't need to use the entire thing, I'll close it off. It actually saves on the fuel. All right, using just one of these if that's all you need to use. Okay, and it works pretty good. I've been able to get a couple of projects done. So usually I'll keep my water over here. All right, so when these the tongs get hot, what I'll do is I'll just throw them into the water over here, and they'll cool off. And basically, I got these from Amazon. All three of them were like $50. Most of the time, I'm working with this one. This one over here, if the item is really wide, or if I need to like hold the bricks, and when I'm opening and closing them, I'll use these. Have not made a whole lot of use of this one yet. This is really good, I think, for holding like a rod, like a rebar or something. But yeah, I got it. At some point, I'll make use of it. Okay, so let's go over to the anvil over here. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the setup. So there's my tractor. It's a Kubota L3901. I'm coming on this side because of the sun. So it's a 38 horsepower tractor. All right, so I got two buckets here kind of stacked on top of each other. So I got the stump bucket on the bottom is sitting on top of those rims, 3 rims there, and that's just to give it height, right, to get it up to a better height. And then what I do is I put the stump bucket there, and then I lower my regular bucket on top of the stump bucket. This way everything is basically connected to the ground. Okay, and so the two buckets, each of these 2 buckets is about 200 pounds. And then I've got my main anvil here, which is like 3 of these 75-pound plates that somebody had given to me a while ago. So I do most of my flat hammering on this. Seems to work pretty good. I did try to actually weld these 3 pieces together at one point, but this metal is so thick that basically I'm using like a flux welder. I gotta get like a stick welder because this metal is like, I mean, these things are like an inch thick of steel over here, so I gotta get a stick welder to really weld these 3 plates together. But it works fine. Just the 3 of them stacked one on top of each other. They're like 75 pounds each, and then that inside of the bucket there. Of the one bucket, which is then on top of the other bucket, which is connected to the ground by those rims over there. Okay, and then what I'll do is like I'll have like these different buckets off here to the side, different barrels off to the side here. So just that it's easy to work on. Because like a lot of times if I'm riveting or something, I might lay the workpiece, across there, so I can, I can basically hammer the rivets in. Okay, and I also have these railroad tracks, which is really good for shaping. Okay, so like I'll use these corners here to shape. I'll use like this part here of the railroad track to bend stuff around. Okay, I don't have like a traditional anvil, right? Like a London style anvil. I think the only thing I'm really missing that has is the horn. Having a horn, I haven't had that much need of the horn, but that's, at some point if I find that I need a horn, I'll go get one of those. But for the most part, like if I need to go around the corner or round something up, I'll use these corners here. And what I'll do is a lot of times I will stand these up. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll make use of the side here too, right, to hammer. I also have another piece of railroad track back here. I haven't used it much, but this one's longer. This one's something like, I don't know, at least 3 feet long. I mean, this one probably weighs like 120, 150 pounds. So I got that handy if should I need it. So on the hammers, I got this one here, which is a 4-pound, and I got these two 3-pound hammers. Okay, I'll use this part here to peen over some of the rivets that, like you see, I put in there, because these are steel rivets. So I'll use this part here to peen over the rivets, and then I'll use this. Like if I want to split something, I'll usually put this down like that, and I'll hammer on top of it. So I'll use this to do some of my splitting. That's an old axe, and then I make a lot of use of these guys here. Same thing. This is more like for like shaping and bending stuff around. Like usually if I'm trying to shape something around this over here, I'll use the lighter hammers. Okay. So yeah, let me back the camera up so you guys can get a different look. All right, so the way I have this situated, I got the forge here, so basically I can take the workpiece out from here and then go directly to here and start hammering. Okay? So I've got this, and then I got my water bucket over there for cooling stuff off. So the height at which this sits on, the top part of this anvil here is basically right about where my knuckle basically can touch it. Okay, so that's where that is. Now a lot of times in the videos where I'm working, if I'm bending over, yeah, I mean it looks like I'm way high, and there's different reasons why I might be bending over. But if I stand straight, that's where the hammer's falling. Okay, that's where my knuckle is. The only bad thing about this bucket here is that it really reflects the noise back, so I always have to wear earmuffs. Even if I just want to peen, if I want to just peen one of these screws in here, or these screws, peen one of these rivets in, and put it on the anvil, I have to wear earmuffs because it's, just that noise just echoes back and it's like really loud. So these projects here, so this is the first the first project I did. So I realize most people, when they start doing blacksmithing and forging, they'll start off with like a knife or something. I went straight to pole arms. All right, so this is the very first thing that I forged. This is the reason why I started blacksmithing, because I wanted to make pole arms, right? Because these things are pretty expensive to buy. And the other thing is, like, I have handled different pole arms at different like shows that I have been to, and they're like almost never like perfect for my taste. A lot of times it's the shape of the head. A lot of times it's just the balance, the weight. Like with swords, there's lots of people out there that blacksmith swords. Okay, so you know, and there tends to be less variation with, let's say, a typical like medieval sword. I mean, there's a variation from a rapier to a medieval sword, but most long swords, most medieval arming swords, most rapiers, they're gonna kind of be of a somewhat similar balance. And again, there's lots of them out there. If you go to like a rent fair or something, there's usually hundreds of them for you to try out. With pole arms, that's not the case. Okay, so I kind of came to the conclusion that I needed to build one for myself so that it would have the right balance that I want. Okay, so this is the very first one that I did. Right, I did a video on this. Then the second one was a battle axe, which I did give away to somebody, so I don't have that here. It was similar to this one here, right? That was the second thing I did. Then the third item was actually this one here. This is the third item that I blacksmithed, and this one so far is my favorite. This has the best balance. It came in at like 5 pounds, 5 ounces. It's balanced like almost in the center, right? So it's got a really nice balance, and then it's also balanced on its y-axis, right? So if you hold it like this, so this is really good for like turning it over from one side to the other side, and you could quickly flip it around because it's balanced on that y-axis. If you want axe, if you want hammer, it's really easy to flip it over, right? It's got the butt spike on the end. So this was the third piece I made. Okay, then this one here, the warhammer, was the fourth piece that I made. Okay, and the shorter hammers, I usually make these out of parts that are left over, right? So like this wood, like I had bought like an 8-foot oak shaft that I used to make this. So was this one? No, this one. I used an 8-foot shaft to make this one over here. So I only used up like 5, almost 6 feet of the shaft. So with the leftover part of the oak, I made this, and also this metal here is also leftover metal from here that I didn't use up. So that's what I do with the leftover material. I just make a little hand axe. Okay, so this is really cool. So it's called this. I mean, you can call it a battle axe. You can call it a war hammer. It's got a hammer on this side and an axe on this side. So this is a fighting axe. It's really light. I mean, you wouldn't use this to cut wood. Okay, it's meant to have speed. I did a separate video on this. This is really not meant to hit with this part. It's meant to hit with the corners. Okay, so basically it's basically a double spike. So this is the fourth one I did, and then this is the last one I just finished. This is the fifth one. So this is a pole axe. I use a different construction here, where I ran the langets of the top spike through the head of the pole axe, right? So it actually goes through an eye. So basically the langets from here come down, and then these langets here insert into the head, and they kind of overlap inside of the axe head, and then the rivet goes through. So this is a stronger construction as opposed to like this one over here, where the langets go around the axe head. Okay, so this one over here, I made this a little bit because it's a stronger design. I basically beefed up the overall construction, so I gave it a much bigger top spike, a little bit thicker. This is like for just fighting against heavier armor, where the stronger top spike, where you're looking to really like try and thrust into the gaps. So this one came in at 6 pounds, but still it's still balanced near the center. So I think it's like 2 inches up from the actual center. So the measured center is about here. The balance point is about 2 inches up, and again also balanced on its y-axis. And even at 6 pounds, it's really easy to hold from the end. Flip over to the side, utilize the butt spike, come around. I use an end cap rather than a spike because I find that the spike can kind of work against you. Just I don't want to gut myself with an actual spike. But this is really good for actually hitting stuff. And great thing about this design is that the langets actually come all the way to the edge here. So this is a hitting area, right? So I can hit with this just as much as I can hit this. Actually, this is the more powerful hitting area because this is where the center of percussion is on this. So this is where it's going to actually hit the hardest. And there's like 1/8 of a steel on each side of this. So there's a 1/4 inch of steel here for hitting with. So this is extremely strong. It does get thinner down here, down to like 1/16, and then down here for the end cap, it goes back up to 1/8 of an inch. So the two combined here are like a 1/4 inch of steel. Okay, so again, this is like there's nobody that sells something that's this perfect as far as I'm concerned, because I have specifically made this for the way that I fight. And if you watch my videos, I've been doing I've been doing armored combat now for about 18 years. So I have a really good sense of how I want these weapons to move, what kind of balance, what kind of speed I want to this. Because these are basically, I mean, these are mass weapons, right? So that they have mass so that they can hit, but they're also weapons of speed, right? You got to put some speed behind the swings in order for them to be really effective, to really maximize the impact. So it's a balance between getting enough mass to hit hard enough, but also for the weapon to be light enough so it has enough velocity to really utilize that mass for its maximum impact. Okay? So anyway, that's my blacksmithing setup. Okay, I want to give you guys a look at my anvil here. And like I said, I know I can just go to Harbor Freight and get a fairly cheap horned anvil. I just at the moment, like it's like when I'm working trying to build these things, and these are mostly the type of things I'm building, I haven't really had a need for that horn. In fact, let me show you guys something. Hold on. One of the things I was doing is I was doing I was working with some leather where I had to put some rivets in the leather. And yeah, that's a case where the horn of the anvil might have been useful. But what I did is I basically just took this, right? This came off of a pick that broke, and I basically just locked this into the vise, and I'm able to kind of use this surface here and this surface here to hammer on, right? So again, I'm kind of using this as a horn if I need to like slide this into a thin area and hammer a rivet. Okay, so that's why, yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I haven't really had the need for an actual horned anvil, which is not to say I won't get one as soon as like the need arises for one, but with the stuff I have right now, I seem to be doing okay. But yeah, I'm more than happy to hear advice, comments, feedback. And it's a lot of times it's one of those things where I'll hear advice, I'll try it out. Maybe like right now it's not working for me, but then maybe later on I'm doing something else and I might come back to it. I mean, that's how it works with a lot of these things, right? So that's why I'm always more than happy to hear advice. Even if I don't use it right away, I kind of like save it in the back of my mind. And at some point later on, when the need arises, I make use of it, okay? So yeah, definitely appreciate any blacksmithing advice you guys have to give me. Thanks for watching. Drop some comments. Talk to you all soon.